Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Dorm, and welcome to Mediumship Moments. I'm your host, the second gen psychic medium. And continuing on with our series of mediumship and murder, I am just absolutely blessed and to have Laura Scott with me. And also via audio, Cash Vizal, her legal representation. Now, Laura and I started to work together on her brother Brian Scott's case, and it really. And thank you so much, Laura, for being here. Really appreciate this because
Yeah.
it's not often people get to see. I'll just call it the good, the bad, and the ugly about working on cases. And you've been kind enough that I realize this has got to be difficult, but you've been kind enough to sit with me today to talk about what it's like to have a brother in this kind of situation and then work with a medium. So let's give our listeners an idea of your brother, Brian. The relationship you had with him. I have three brothers, and they're all different. It's amazing how we
Yes.
can be reared in the same house and like they're different. So can
Yes.
you give me a picture of Brian, the guy, the brother, the relationship you had with him?
I can. So Brian and I are 2 years apart, and when I try to describe my relationship with him, he was kind of like my twin flame, I say, because everyone that knew Brian knew me. Like, we were always together. We did everything together. It was always everyone knew it was me, my mom, and my brother. We were like a trio, growing up, but we were always super close, our family.
Is he
Um,
the older brother?
he is.
So he's the big brother, the protective guy.
Correct, and he's my
Yeah.
only sibling, so, that's it's made it really tough going through everything because he is my only sibling, and I did consider him my best friend, so but, Brian as a person, I gotta say he's probably the smartest person I've ever met in my life. It's funny because when we had his funeral, I did, his eulogy, and I said, he could lose me in a conversation within minutes of talking about things that are just totally out of my wheelhouse. Like, he was just beyond smart, but he was also great at everything he did as far as like sports went. And I mean, he just excelled at everything.
Everything came easy to him.
Super easy to him.
That's
Super
frustrating
easy.
as a sibling
I
because I have
know.
one of those.
Yep.
And it's kind of like they step in it no matter what they do.
Yep.
We call them the golden fair hair child, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so that's always
Yeah.
frustrating, fun, but frustrating.
Yep.
So 2 years older, he's your big brother, he's protective, and you grew up whereabouts?
We grew up actually about 15 minutes outside of Philadelphia.
Okay.
Yeah,
In
in
on the
Delaware
PA
County.
side or in the
Yes, PA side, Delaware
okay.
County. Yep.
Yeah. So that's a neat area that, I have friends, that are out in that area, and it's, you have the dichotomy, you can get into the city real easily, but
Yep.
you've got a little farmland there.
Yep.
So
The
you grew.
Jersey Shore. Jersey
Yes,
Shore is
exactly, right, a
yep,
hop and a skip. So
yep.
you grew up in that area, and so, you know, where was the catalyst for him to move to Arizona? What was the reason behind that?
So he initially moved to Arizona to attend Arizona State University.
Okay.
That was back after he graduated high school. So he ended up, he moved out there. He got a really good job. He lived out there for about 4 years, and then he moved back and started a family. He had all his children around here, because he was a father of three when he passed away. But then he ended up, he started going through a divorce, and that was why he ended up in Arizona.
Hold tight for a second. So he moved, he was out there. Did he attend Arizona State University? Was it
He did.
engineering or mechanical engineering at all?
He was trying to do something with like engineering with like
Yeah.
agriculture or
Yeah. It's
something.
just something that I had picked up
Yeah.
psychically. It was, I don't quite know agronomy, but there was something about that. And I kept getting
Well, that's
engineering.
what I mean. I'm
Yeah.
lost on the things, like, even the job that he had right before he had passed away, like, I've talked to his boss since he's passed and whatnot, and I still don't even understand exactly. Like, I mean, I know that he ran like the entire United States sector of his job and that he
Okay.
had meetings in all different countries with different, but
Yeah.
it's like, yeah,
It
it
was
was
pretty
out of
cool.
my
I mean, yeah, and the whole engineering mindset, that he could fix anything, figure out anything,
yeah,
which comes into play about later in the case, and I'll touch upon that. So he comes back here, he falls in love, he gets married, he has 3 children.
yes.
And they are, from they're teenagers, tweens.
They're little, so they're right now they're only 11, 10,
Yeah,
and
tweens.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Irish twins he had, huh?
yep, he
Yeah.
did, yep, back
Okay.
to back.
And then a little muffin head who's
Little
younger.
muffin head, yeah, she
That's
was
Kim speak for, like, they're still cute before the hormones kick
yeah,
in.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
she was only 4 when he went missing, so
Oh,
she was the youngest.
that's the yeah, that is tough.
Yeah.
So, he comes back here, he gets married, he has 3 kids, and then he ends up, because you had said a divorce, he goes back to Arizona because one of the children are out there with the mother.
Yeah, well, so actually all of them, during the divorce, she ended up at one point, she went back to where it was from Arizona. That's where
Okay.
she's actually from. That's
And
where
sh
she
and
had
she and she took her child with her.
and she took all the children with
So, yeah.
her.
Okay.
And, but
Well,
they had planned, like, she knew he was coming out there. She wanted him to come out there.
yeah, I mean,
And
it makes sense that he's a father and, that 8 to I don't know if it's 1,200 miles or something, but away from how can you really be a part of the kid's family? And that just
right,
speaks of who he is, and I hate to talk about past tense because I still feel them around us, so forgive me if I keep going, he was, he is,
yeah.
back and forth. It's just something that, because I see, hear, and feel them with us, it's a present thing for me. So he goes back out to Arizona. He's there being a dad. He's working in some kind of agricultural engineering.
So he actually, during the time that he ended up going out there, they were not really in a great place, him and his ex-wife at the time. But my brother was the type where he was a dad every single day of his life. That's all he knew.
Yeah,
I mean, he had friends, but he didn't hang out with anyone. Like, he was a dad all the
yeah,
time.
yeah,
And that's one thing that ate him up, that he was like, I can't go without my kids. So, like,
yeah.
I can't just see them 3 months out of the year. I want to
Be
be
a
with them every
summertime dad, right? Yeah,
right. And that's what, she was promising him, that, we're going to work it out. We're going to be together. But in reality, we knew, like, me and my mom knew that that wasn't reality.
right.
And
Like you wanted
he
the
was
best for
grieving.
him. Yeah. And the kids and a lot of couples can do that through divorce.
Yeah.
It's you figure it out, you get a schedule. I'm from the adage that you married the state. That's what a legal piece of paperwork. I don't know if you
Right.
agree, Cash, but you married the
Oh,
state,
I
and
agree. I
when
agree
you
with that.
yeah, when you break up with the state, it's the
Yeah.
state, but the children. I have sister-in-laws, and even though my brother's divorced, I refer to them as my sister-in-law. You gave birth to my nieces, and forever that connection will continue. So it speaks just volumes of the man he was, that he wanted to be a part of the kid's family, and so he made sure that he went out there.
Right.
Now, if we can talk about how long was he out there before he went missing?
Not
Not long.
long. So he
Okay,
was only
so
out there
okay,
for about, yeah.
yeah, less than a year. I get somewhere
Oh,
around
yeah,
8
yeah.
months, and I don't know if
And
it's from 8 months when he went missing to when he was found, but again, they may be showing me that. So, did
yeah,
he go out in August?
so he had went
Mhm.
out in August,
Yeah, that's why he's
and
showing me the 8.
he was only
Yeah,
out there not even 2 months before
yeah.
he went missing.
Okay. So
Yeah.
and I had forewarned Laura and Cash that he may come through and say things, about his case. So, I feel like he's with you now, and that he kept showing me the number 8. And so he's jumping in here. And often, those that have crossed in this kind of situation, they talk to me and help me give me the pieces to the puzzle that I give authorities that they then start to put that puzzle together. Um, so he's not even out there 2.5 months, and he goes missing. And so from the time he went missing, and you put in that he's a missing person, and your work, and it was out in, can I say Maricopa County? Everybody good with that? That's where
Mhm,
he
yeah.
was, where he
Mhm.
resided. Um, what was it like
Yes.
initially when you had to report him missing? Like, I know there was frustration.
Um, yeah. So, initially he wasn't reported missing when he actually went missing. We
Okay.
were given different stories that we
Yeah.
knew weren't adding up right
Okay.
away,
All right.
and we couldn't get a hold of him. And we knew right away something was seriously wrong,
Yeah.
especially because of like the year leading up to that with everything that they had going on with the divorce. And then a few things that Brian had said before he left, like, if anything ever happens to me, make sure,
Wow.
like,
He almost
I,
had an intuition
yeah,
that that things may go, um,
yeah.
south, so to
And
speak.
we kept
But
warning him not to go. Like, we warned him, like, please don't go out there. Like, it's going to be different when you're in that state around, you
yeah.
don't know anyone out there. You don't have us out there. Like, it's
It's
not going to,
tough. Yeah, he's
yeah,
pretty much going out there as a single parent.
yeah,
Uh, for those of us that have been around friends and family that they end up being single parents, it's a lot to take on.
right.
So you report on, you've got these stories about, oh, he did this, he went here,
Yes.
and
So
it wasn't adding up, right?
no, stuff
And
wasn't adding up, and then we were asking if he was reported missing, and we were told that wellness checks were done and stuff, and we ended up finding out that that wasn't the case, and then finally we said, "Look, like, if you don't report him missing, we're gonna do it ourselves," and then that's when he was reported missing, and
okay.
it wasn't until actually 2 days after he actually went missing.
Okay. So it's
So,
48 hours. And I don't know, certain states, there has to be a 24-hour, 48-hour benchmark before they'll do a wellness check or so, but you all knew. You had that intuitive
we
feeling.
knew. I
The
mean, we
stories weren't adding up.
our last
So
text with him is literally us saying, like, "We're afraid that you're dead and that you're not okay right now," and then we ended up finding out that he actually wasn't alive at that time, so it's like we knew.
you had that feeling. So
Yeah.
how long, Laura, if you can bring me back, because from the time he was missing to the time that you involved me in it, and anything you want to, highlight. But,
Yeah.
I know there was frustration. There was more cases than manpower,
Yeah.
which is often the case, in my opinion, from what I've seen when you deal with some of the, how shall I say, rural areas west of the Mississippi,
Yeah.
where there are just limited resources. Um, but how long before you brought me into the case? And then, how did you hear about me to bring to work
Yeah.
with your brother's case?
So I think I first heard about you. I believe a friend of mine I think had went to you, and then I found your social medias and I was following you, and I saw that you had worked on other cases, missing
Mhm.
persons, and that you had worked with detectives and whatnot. So I figured if I'm going to go to anyone, I want it to be someone that I know, is vetted, that has a background in doing this. So I think it was about a month after Brian was missing that I
Okay.
reached out to you. But yeah, like after he was reported missing, we didn't even get a call for about a week and a half from the detective. Like we flew out there and were showing up to the police department every day, telling them like, look, we know this, this, and this. This isn't adding up. This story is false. Like, we can verify that, but it's like there was just every time, like, when we would hear anything back, it was, oh, well, we have so many missing children's cases, or we have so many sex trafficking cases that, basically, like, a middle-aged male isn't on our,
Our priority.
top
Yeah.
priority here.
Yeah.
I don't know if they thought that maybe he, like, left on his own, and I also think it played a big part in the story that they were given as well. Like, I think they were under the impression that Brian just took off on his own and
Right.
didn't wanna be found.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
I think
And
that
so,
also
yeah,
played
so
into it.
they had a preconceived idea of why he went missing, and that played a role
Right.
into how many resources they would put together for that. So you reach out to me, and we set up a time to do what I call it's pretty much a vetting. I ask people to bring if I'm working on and all cases are a little bit different, but there's a standard how we work or how I work systematically. I think that harkens back to my nursing days working in the operating room, right? There's a reason why we set up the way we set up. Call it muscle memory, but when things are happening and moving quickly, it's almost like muscle memory, right? So what I typically do
Right.
is I think we did a right? We did it Zoom, did we? Yeah? You sent me a
We
box,
did, yeah.
right, and in that box I like to work with metal. I tell people that metal retains someone's energy. So it's kind of like seeing the pages within the chapter of somebody's life. You also sent me photographs, showed me a location of where he was last seen. And that's the part that I can see energetically movement. It's almost like the trail is illuminated, bioluminescence by their energy. So I can get a reference point of direction, of who was at that scene, and then things that, um, and that's the difficult part, energetically not seeing energy with him. As a nurse, I never give up hope. I really, really, really don't. Um,
Yeah.
but that initial meeting, and I believe your mom was on it too, right? Your
She
mom?
was. She
Okay.
was.
And,
Yes.
yeah. And so yeah, because I think you were both in the same room or 2 I don't it's been a little bit,
Yeah.
because this goes back to 2024. So,
Yeah.
talk to me about what I had seen during that, if you can, that initial vetting, of where you supplied some items of brides for me to sit with and work with.
Yeah, so I mean, from the very first call, even when you called to set up the Zoom call, you had talked to my mom on the phone, and you had brought up that there was an older woman that you were, I guess, getting, channeling, and that she loved hard caramels and candies, and
Oh.
that she was at the baker's house, and that she loved, that she liked being at the baker's house. And you would ask my mom, "Are you a baker?" And my mom said, "No, that's my sister." And you said, "Who's Peg?" And that's my mom's mom that passed away in
Oh.
2020 from cancer. So, and then you had
Oh.
mentioned that she was gonna help us find Brian. So, even before our Zoom call, like, you had said a few things that we were like, "Well, that's pretty crazy that she knew that." And then when we had the Zoom call, you had mentioned a lot of different names that, I mean, we were just like, there's no way that she would know these names. You had mentioned the one name, it was Brian's friend that had just passed away a year prior. So I remember asking you, I'm like, are we, is this, does this person have to be alive, or are they, do they have to be deceased? And you were like, no, or, you were like, no, they don't have to be alive. So, but even like names of an ex-girlfriend you brought up, his daughter's name, you were on point with it. You brought up his daughter's birthday. You asked if his one daughter was 4 years old when he went missing. Well, he ended up being found on her, or they confirmed that it was Brian on her 5th birthday, his
Oh.
daughter, youngest daughter. So, but you had also, one thing that, stood out to me was you had mentioned that you asked if Brian had surgery on his left arm or wrist. And he did, and he had a metal plate in it. And when I
Mm,
had spoke to one of the detectives at the time that brought, Brian's remains off of, the scene, he had mentioned that they found a metal plate in Brian's wrist. And I said
ugh,
right away to him, I said, well, and this is why I want you guys to work with Kim, because one of the first things she said was she mentioned the surgery on his arm. So clearly something that she was seeing, you
yeah.
guys saw yourself and found yourself. But I mean, you described his Airbnb to a T. The location that he was found, you had said that you feel like that he was high up and elevated, and
Mm,
he was found at like the top of this mountain that was literally right behind his Airbnb. Like they never went and put out cadaver dogs or a search team for him,
mhm.
and he was found point 0.7 miles behind his Airbnb
Ugh. Well,
on.
thank you so much for validating that. I mean, um, it I these pictures come to me so quickly, so it's kind of like seeing a movie, and I'm the director of the movie in the sense that I'm behind the camera, and I'm starting to see and describe those scenes. So it's kind of like that for me. And so I truly don't know how spot on I was, because it's not like I come back to you and go, okay, well, did I get 10 out of the 20 things right? It's
Right.
more of I give you these pieces to the puzzle and you put it together and use it with the
Together.
detective. And I really appreciate, Laura, you bringing up about the metal plate. Again, they'll
Yeah.
tap into my surgery side, which I did quite a
Yeah.
bit of, distal radial fractures, and they'll use that as evidential mediumship or just evidence. So
Right.
it was I appreciate you bringing that up and highlighting it. So
Yeah.
from the time that you sat with me and we did that Zoom meeting where I was holding on to his belongings, some metal
Mhm.
objects and things like that. And then you took that Zoom information. I know it it was very frustrating, and I know that we had conversations back and forth about why won't they listen? Why don't they do this? And I believe that's why cash is involved, because it and I'll just say this, in one of the cases I worked on, that got national recognition was the Shane Montgomery case, and that's about 12 years old, and that was in Philadelphia. And we had almost a similar situation where, the federal FBI put the divers out based upon a eyewitness. And I kept saying, no, he went out, he went right. And I described things he passed. I went out to the site, pointed to where his keys were found later. But the idea of bringing the diver almost 3/4 of a mile up and having those two resources fight with each other, Kevin, the uncle of Shane, had said lovingly, that if we'd listened to Kim, we would have brought him home 2 weeks sooner. So I can't say that in this case would be true,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
I know that that frustration happens, quite a bit.
Yeah.
You brought in another medium as well, to
Yeah.
work on this case.
Right. So at the time, we were trying to get them. I mean, we tried everything to get. I even got a victims advocate involved. Like we tried everything to get them to just listen to you and because I understand that there might be a little bit of because we all know that there's people out there that aren't
Yes.
legit.
Reluctance and
So
intrepidation over working
right.
with someone, but given my resume and I say that lovingly,
Yeah.
this came hard fought cases to prove, and I say that to just be an advocate for myself or the family.
Right.
So, and I know it was, more than a year of that frustration with you. So
Yeah.
you reached out to another well-known medium, Jonathan Marks, who works on cases.
Right. So that's what that was my when I did that, it was so I had reached out to him and actually Brian was still missing at the time when I had
Mhm.
messaged him And then Brian ended up being found within like 2 weeks of that message. A hiker had found his remains. So by the time he reached back out to me, Brian was already, found and
Uh-huh.
confirmed. So he said, "Do you still want me to do a reading?" And I said, "Well, I would like to see what you can get and if you could be any help of us." Because at that point I'm thinking like, okay, well now, like they kept telling us, well, we can't look into this. That was, his accounts were being used. We can't look into that without a body because we don't know if it was Brian. We don't know if it was someone else or if it was
Mm.
him doing it. So once they found him and they determined that even though it was undetermined, they determined that Brian was not alive for quite some time. So we
Uh-huh.
knew that it wasn't him. So my thought was maybe if we can bring in someone else that does work
Mhm.
mostly with law enforcement, and the two different people are basically saying very similar things,
Uh-huh.
that maybe, they'll just be open to listening. Like, what could it hurt? At
Right.
this point, you're saying it's undetermined. You're saying, oh, we don't have enough evidence to point to A, B, and C. Yeah, that's because in the very beginning, no one listened to us. And, if they had listened to you, would Brian have been found within a few weeks? Like it just
Yes.
things that make you wonder where it's like, here we
Yeah,
are
and
now.
that
Mm,
and that's, Laura, I hear that. That's the part, yes, I'm a medium, but the mission statement for PSI, Psychic Studies and Investigations, that my mom started over 50 years ago, is there but for the grace of God go I. So I look at this through the lens of being a mom, having a brother. This is, and that that's what is so tough, that you have this information, nobody's listening. You bring in another well-known medium. I know him quite well, and he's worked in a lot of the Long Island cases, New York City
yeah,
region. He's been all over, and so our resumes speak well of the type of work that we do and how federal, state, and local utilize us. So the things that he had said, he picked up similar things, that I believe he was lured there, that he was murdered in that left higher cave. In fact, Kevin, who was the wonderful PI that you hired, was a former FBI agent, had worked with mediums before. And I just, he was very sweet to say, Kim, you were spot on. What you talked about, what you described, and the pictures that I had drawn, he said, that's exactly. He said, now I know Arizona has a lot of caves. He said, but the topography that you picked out or talked about was exactly what we saw. And I just thought that that was sweet that he validated that to me. Um, so once Brian was found and you met with Jonathan, the two of us link up with the case, similarities, right, Laura, of what we're seeing.
right.
Then what was it like after that? Um, I know that I don't know if we sat again. I kept seeing another person coming in, that you would be working with that was part of the case. I almost feel like I described, uh, Cash here because I kept describing somebody coming in and assisting you, over the case.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and it's
And
funny, because he kinda said the same thing, like, he said that, "I feel as though that there will be justice that comes for Brian, and I do feel as though that people will be held accountable, not just that were involved, but that,
no,
that
I
kinda,
agree. I agree.
threw this off," because
And
even now with they did now like, so the problem was also we were kinda sitting in limbo. So there was, like, new evidence that was coming out and that we were telling them. I mean, I have over 100 emails, that I was sending of things to them, and it's like everything was just getting blown off, and then when we would think we were getting somewhere, and it's funny because Jonathan actually said it too in his thing. He said that Brian's saying that,
Huh?
during the course of him being missing in this investigation, there should have been 8 steps forward, but then it's like there's like 10 steps back,
Steps
you know?
back.
So it's like it's not getting anywhere. And even if you're leading a horse to water, but they're covering the tracks, you're not seeing that the horse ever got water, you know? So it's like, I just felt like there was a lot that was never properly investigated. And then they finally said that they were closing the case. And to me, that was like a, stab in the heart because it's like, you
There's
know,
no resolution,
no,
right?
and then,
They're putting a bow on something that hasn't been investigated fully,
right,
vetted. They have not put resources into it, and that's part of having cash with us is that that you have somebody to work with the family to speak on your behalf.
yeah,
And I don't know if Jonathan talked about this, but a lot of mediums won't sit with family. One of our
yeah,
huge concern is that if you don't have a PI or you don't have a detective really saying, hey, I'll sit with her, I'll take the information, let's see where it goes. I sit with you, give you this information, and then you go rogue. Right? You show up,
yeah,
you're starting to threaten people. And I'm not saying in this case, but
no, yeah,
that's why we kind of have to CYA about what cases we take because
right,
there's only a limited amount of time and energy that we can sit with these cases. And so we want to be able to, and I don't mean to infer that's the same thing with the police, but in
yeah,
our case, a lot of us do this pro bono. And
yeah,
so if we give you this information, we sure as hell want to make sure that you get it to the right people and that they're open to
right,
it. And so
yeah,
they weren't. And that is a damn shame. That is frustrating as hell.
yeah,
And I know, Cash, you got a good person in your ring over taking the next steps necessary to get Brian and the family shine some more light on this and I do feel two people will be implicated, one male, one female. And there's something about his bike where he left his bike.
yes, the
Okay,
unicycle,
don't yeah, there's something about that plays a role. So make sure,
um,
Cash, he is definitely sitting next to you. Is the number 17 either a birthday, a crossing date, or something of that nature important? Do you
um,
understand that as well? Yes.
yes, that's my
Okay.
mom's favorite, so her softball number, it's
Yes.
like, I use it
He
for everything.
yeah, he keeps talking
I go
about
to the casino and I put
yeah,
his number 15,
yes.
17, like, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And did somebody get a tattoo on this side of their hand or something in writing connected to him?
So, well, we've been talking about tattoos, and I've been thinking about getting one with his ashes in
Ashes.
it.
Okay. He
Yeah.
thinks that's pretty cool, by the way.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna say that. Was he afraid of needles though?
I
Or
don't
was there
know.
something about a tattoo that he had
Well, it's
gotten
it's funny.
that he didn't like?
Well, so he always hated tattoos. Like he
Yes.
never liked tattoos,
No.
but
Okay.
then he right before, like in the months leading up to his passing, he went and got like multiple
Yes.
tattoos and we were like,
And
"What's
you're like,
going
"Where's this
on?"
coming from?" Yeah,
Yeah.
because I almost feel like he's telling me, I didn't like them. Either I was afraid of needles or whatever,
Yeah.
and then boom, I got them. Because when they show
Yeah.
me this symbol, I know that to be a tattoo, but he thinks
Yeah.
that with the ashes, that's pretty damn cool.
Okay.
Does he have 2 daughters and a son?
Yeah. So
Okay, hold tight. No, no, no.
okay.
2 you can tell me yes, no. 2 d okay. Is one got curly hair or
Uh
frizzy hair?
yes.
Okay, is that the baby?
So the little one, she has some curls, but the oldest Audrey,
What?
she has a lot
Yes.
of
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. He's just so proud of his babies. Tell them that I look over I love them. Uh, is the oldest one with the frizzy hair very athletic like your brother?
Yes, she's athletic. I mean, both the only one that isn't really, I mean, the youngest one, she's kind of young to get into
Is
sports
she playing
for both.
softball?
Yeah, so she was
Yes.
playing
So
softball and
he
yeah.
tell her that I sit in the stands and cheer her on, okay?
Oh, okay.
And that's something about her new bat. She's
Okay.
like, he's talking about this pink bat and saying it's magic. She's like me, she's athletic. I mean, the bat's good, but he keeps saying, "She takes after me, even though she thinks
Okay.
the bat is magic," okay? And
Okay.
is there a child that's like AJ or initials?
So there is that's what I was gonna say.
Good.
While
Mm,
Brian was missing, we didn't
yeah.
know, but apparently she was pregnant again,
Yep. Yep.
and that she has another son now.
Yes.
We only met him one time when he
Yeah.
came for the funeral,
Okay.
and
And
ever
that's his
since
son.
apparently
Yes.
that's
Yes.
his son.
I'm being told. So,
Yeah,
he
so
thanks you for recognizing that child,
yeah.
and, um, he just he's gonna help solve this case, and I don't know if you work with me or another one, but the way he's like, he's just very point on. He's just very, like, uh he's a cool guy. I like his energy, but he's like, "You
Yeah.
hear me. You know what's going on." And he keeps saying, "You'll help." And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I'll help." I mean, like, um, do you wear his jacket too? The denim jacket with like either patches or
So
something with emblem on it? You
yeah,
understand that?
so I actually gave, one
Yeah.
of his jackets
Yeah.
it's in my closet right now,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
we did give some of his clothes away
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
whatnot,
He
but
thought that was cool. He keeps
he had
going,
his own style, like,
"Yes, he did.
yeah,
Yes, he did." He was that's a good way of putting it. Um uh hug mom, tell her I'm okay. He gets to ride his bike all the time. He looks over the two of you, uh, and he wasn't fishing, but why is he showing me like fishing or fishing rod or
um,
he's with somebody who fished. I feel it's an older
my
male.
my grandfather,
Okay,
that would
so
be
he's
my father.
okay
Yeah, he loved fishing. My
fishing.
grandfather's from Minnesota,
So
and
I
that's
was
all
gonna
they
say
did.
Mississippi, he just showed me MI. I was like,
Yep,
Mississippi? Yeah,
Minnesota.
so if you don't feel him around, he's with Pops fishing in Minnesota,
Okay,
okay?
alright,
But
good to
big
know.
hugs, love, he's okay. He's gonna continue to be an advocate and work with you on his case. Um, he's pulling his energy back. Okay. Yes. Um, so, again, thank you for sitting with me today and just giving an idea of what the cases are like, what it's like to work with a medium. Um, I'm one of your biggest advocates to get this moving in the right direction. And now that Cash is on it, I feel like it's going to speed up, and you may not get all that you want, but you will get some resolution and recognition um, for Brian. So,
Yeah.
was there anything, Cash, you would like to add?
No, just thank you for your time. This was an honor to be part of this, and I think we have a good team, Laura and Kim. I think that it's better days ahead. So, so happy go win that derby.
Yeah,
Yes,
there you go.
yes, so
Yeah,
Uh,
happy.
Laura, thank you again for sitting with me and talking about your brother's case and the frustrations, the things about working with a medium, the good, the bad, the ugly. I say that lovingly. And keep in touch. Let me know how you're doing. And I
Well,
wish you and your family give your mom a hug for me, okay?
I will. Thank you so much
And
again.
as always, when I tell people, keep chatting with your angels because they hear you, okay?
Yes. Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
thank
You're
you.
welcome. Bye now.
Alright,
Bye.
have a good one. Bye-bye.